Alright guys, so I'm starting in on this fuel system now as the next project. So to track down the proper 6AN fittings for this, but they're all 1/4 inch MPT thread. So if you're trying to size whatever your fitting's going to be on the outside, it's 1/4 inch NTP to, for me, 6AN or -6s. And that's going to allow me to use the 3/8 fuel line. So what I'm doing there is kind of a mix between the aluminum, and then the other stuff I'm going to use is a ethanol safe wrapped metal. There is metal braiding inside the rubber, so really strong, is up to 1,000 psi strength fuel line, and it's going to connect through the bulkhead pass-throughs, which I already have in place here, with these style AN or -6 3/8 fuel line fitting. So a mandrel style connection to the hose, where you kind of screw it into the end of these, and it's a very secure high pressure line. So that's going to come up across into the quick release fuel rail. There's going to be a pressure sensor for fuel right here. That'll run back to one of those, and then off of right here is the return line. We'll run into the other one. Both of those are coming through the firewall, and then they're going to come down to, one's going to come down the fuel valve, obviously the line going to the engine, and then the other one is just going to be a straight return. So basically on this side, it's going to be the aluminum solid lines more than likely. We'll see how that all goes with the routing. So the return line's going to come back and go in here. The tools you need for that, you need a bender like this for the aluminum fuel line. You need a flare tool, and for this particular case I put a little paint mark on the one I need. It's going to be for 3/8. 37-degree flare is what you want, and then you also need a pipe cutter to cut that aluminum flex line or aluminum solid line the way you want. Next thing you'll need is these compression fittings and these compression nuts like this. And I'll kind of go over how that all works on the fuel line to get your fitting that then will connect to basically that end like that. So you're going to run your straight aluminum line to that. If you guys haven't done that before, it's not a big deal. It takes time. Having a proper good flare tool and a good bender so you can route it the way you need to, and just take your time routing it all and make sure there's no contact, any rubbing points. So getting it from over there and through where all this stuff is here up to the fuel valve is going to be the chore. But you know, obviously it can be done because that's how you're supposed to do it. Started the process on the fuel system, removed the header tank, and then mounted this Edge Performance dual fuel pump system right behind the header tank. Looks like a real good location. There's no interference with anything. And what I'm going to do is take the fuel line out of the header, wrap around into the dual pump, and then come out from this side and then run the fuel up to the selector valve. What I was able to do is come up over the height of the seatbelt and then come down around it. There's enough clearance between the header tank and the seatbelt here. Now the seatbelt doesn't flex in like that. It's actually held out basically in this position even when it's pulling tight towards the seatbelt, and that's because of where this slot is. It's up against the wall, so it holds the seatbelt out like that, so it won't interfere with the fuel line there. So far the clearance worked out good with this, and then I'm going to come up to the fuel filter here. The reason I move this up here is I want to be able to change this every annual or every 100 to 200 hours, and I wanted an easy access to it. I originally had it mounted on the back of the fuel pump, which would have worked also, but it would have been too hard to get to change out. So I moved it to here. So all I have to do is pull the seat pan, which will be out during every annual, undo this nut, and then it'll come right off. And I'm gonna have another line coming off of here, run out up to the fuel valve. It's gonna have a 45 going into the fuel valve, and then from the fuel valve, run forward to the bulkhead. From the firewall forward to the engine, there's additional parts coming for that, and that's just basically to tap into this rail right here. Brian Dacus is providing in his AEM kit a rail that mounts on top of the coil bolts, and that's to run the fuel line. And then to support the fuel line, there's going to be a quick connect, and then a fuel pressure sender right here, and then AN6. So that will be the connection there. It's going to come down to the one of these. Probably forward will be for flow in, and then back will be return. I'll figure that out later. Then the return line is going to come off here. That's going to come and join that carrier rail back out and down to this fitting. So that's it, guys. That's basically the fuel system from the header tank. So the fuel line is now run clear up to the bulkhead. Both the supply and the return come all the way back here to where the header is going to go. This is the supply, this is the return, and then this is the fuel pump. The supply runs through the fuel pump up here through the filter, up to the fuel valve, then up to the bulkhead. Fuel pumps are now wired. So here's the wire bundle that I made up for the fuel pump. It's going to go along with all the rest of these up through the console, and then it comes up to right here where I've got the power supply, which I need to connect in, and then also the grounds to the bus. I'm waiting to do that until I finish this shelf so I can mount the relays on there and get the proper length of the wire, and all the wiring is going to be cleaned up real nice. I tested all the clearance through here with the floorboards. It's all good. And then again, up under the console, everything clears, all the cables and everything. Just gonna have to tidy up the wires still. I've got these brackets I made up from Cut Send that will be high soled down to this bar, and then all these will be zip tied into this channel. And that's basically just a piece of aluminum with pre-cut zip tie holes and bent to 90 degrees. Super, super lightweight. That will go in there. Same thing on the other side. I've got another one to go over here for the other set of wires coming from the autopilot. Alright, so I talked about these basically channels to hold the wiring in place. This is something I designed in Cut Send. I mean, super simple design. Everything's rounded though, so there's no sharp edges. Did a 90-degree bend in it. It had the pre-laser cut zip tie holes. And look how clean that is. Same thing on this one. I haven't cut these off yet because I got one more wire to run through there. But it's just super tidy now. That's what the under of the seat will look like. Of course, I'll cut all the tabs off, all the zip ties. And then the seat belt, it's out of the way. But that's it, man. It's nice and tidy and clean. It will be that nicely bundled and everything up underneath the console as well. And then we'll get in to start tidying up the wiring in front of the panel. So that's my goal, is have everything look real nice and factory finished. So here's the co-pilot side. So wires come out of the conduit here and come nice easy bend right here, coming up and then up underneath the console. It keeps it away from everything. The seat has plenty of clearance over that as well. So we're real happy with the way that came out. So basically the fuel is done from the header. Just got to put the header back in. to the firewall. Firewall forward, I've got a little bit more work to do on the fuel line. It comes through the bulkhead, these two pass-throughs, and then I do have the fuel line run up to the rail and tidied up on top of the engine down this fuel line, and then this fuel line will need to be connected into the supply, and then I'll have another one that comes out and goes to the return, and it is actually one size smaller in order to fit the return line nipple there off the fuel rail. So that's today's update. I'm just fiddling around with this little stuff. You know, I'd love to show you guys some massive cool improvement, but it's very slow at this point, just getting all this interior stuff done. The systems, working through, trying to get the fuel system done, brake system done. Next up is the cooling system. That's why you see all these new silicone coolant hoses. And hooking all that up to the aircraft. What we did decide to do is to get the current engine mount from Ken Brown, so that anything I do firewall forward will fit whatever you guys are able to get from Ken as far as an engine mount. It's changed a little bit in the way it mounts to the main rail, and the bottom part's changed a little bit. So he's gonna get one of those made up and sent to me hopefully next week. We'll pull the engine off, trade it out for the other engine mount, and then he wants this one back. So don't ask if you can buy it, because he wants it back as his prototype. So basically just gonna swap them, and that'll be good. All right, finishing up the fuel system. Got the header tank in, and now I've got these pre-filters that are gonna go for the fuel lines up to the wing tanks. So I'll get those on there. I have decided not to use the low fuel sensor that goes in here. It is something I can add later. I have it. I just I don't really like the way you have additional connections, so I'm not going to use that. Not a whole lot more to that decision. Fuel line is all routed. Everything's hooked up. Purged all those fuel lines with air to get any of the residual aluminum from the cutting or anything out of there, and should be all set. So the next step on the fuel will be to attach the fuel lines to the two firewall pass-throughs, and I've got that fuel line run to the fuel rail right here, and that's just going to go down into there. But before I cut those, I'm going to make sure I finish all the plumbing in here for the coolant system, which I'm working on the radiator mounts today also. And then I do need to undo all these and put a fire sleeve on that fuel line, just to keep it aviation quality. We're gonna do everything in firewall forward. We'll have the fire sleeve on it and be fireproof. So I gotta get that going, and the fuel line up to the wing tanks can go ahead and go in. I'll route that. It's gonna come across. This will set up like that. It's going to come across and up these rails, and then of course the interior kit has the covers for those. So all this is going to come down that post there. Then it comes up to the fuel tank outlet right there. I'll also be putting in the sight gauge in there, and then the vent line is that center one. It goes up to the other tank. It's got a vent to that one. So the fuel system's coming along. I'll do a shot when we're done with all that, just to show that being wrapped up. All right, guys, I want to thank you guys all for coming along on this journey with me. We started this YouTube channel, I started a long time ago, without any intention to have it grow into what it is. When I started this project, I decided that I wanted to create a channel that had consistent content, and we grew it up to almost 12,000 subscribers now. So thank you for being one of those subscribers if you're not subscribed, and one of those viewers. I really appreciate that. And the promise I'm going to make to you guys right now is that I will not abandon you in this project. I have myself followed some other builds in the past where you get into it and you're really excited to see this thing evolve, and then they just stop and you don't ever know what happened. You don't know if the guy lost interest in filming it, whether he finished. There's no closure there. It's just all of a sudden there's no more episodes. Those of you who are new to the channel and you're caught up to where we are now, this is an active project. It's not done yet. Maybe by the time you see this in the future it will be, but it's August 2020. I'm still going hard at it, trying to figure out how to get all this stuff done so I can fly it. But my promise is that I will not abandon you guys. I will continue to document this build until it is flying, until it's been flight tested, until we get some performance evaluations on this engine setup, and then probably into some of the adventures I have flying. So I will not abandon you guys. That being said, I feel like some of you have abandoned me lately, and that is because the viewership is way down. And I don't know why. I know there was a gap there in the middle of summer where I had fewer videos coming out, but that's because I had family, out of school. We had a bunch of stuff going on, and that stuff takes precedence over making these videos. I have a lot of footage to edit because I've been working hard on this plane. You can see behind me, I'm way ahead of where the videos are. But what I do is I try to take all the video and organize it into a task and a completion. And I'm right in the middle of a lot of those tasks right now. The encouragement I need in order to take the time to sit down and do the editing versus work on the plane is your viewership. So when the viewership drops off from 40,000 from a video to 3,000 for a video, I don't get a ton of encouragement. I feel like you guys all left. I don't know where you went. It may be the time of year. If that's the case, hopefully you'll come back when the summer is over. Or maybe it's my content isn't as exciting now that we're done with some of the major components. Some of the small stuff like the brake installation or the ADS-B solution. Maybe that stuff's just not interesting to you guys. But it is going to be a part of your build, and it is knowledge that you can gather in order to make those kinds of decisions for your build. Or if you're thinking about building, that's part of the process. I'm trying to show you the reality of the build from the start to the finish. And so if some of the episodes aren't as exciting as the other, I apologize. I just don't see why such a drastic drop off in the viewership. So if you guys have any pointers of why that might have happened, let me know. And really the best way for you guys to help me out is watch the videos. If you don't like them, give it a thumbs down. That way I know that particular video didn't do it for you. But the comments, the viewership, the subscription, that's my encouragement. The ad revenue I get from this channel is really insignificant, guys. Honestly, it doesn't amount to whole beans. It maybe is enough to gather some money together to buy a new camera or a new microphone or something every once in a while. It's not why I do it. I do it to share this with you guys. I originally started doing it to document the build. I got such an amazing reaction from you guys and the growth of the channel. That's why I'm doing it. I'm reaching a bunch of you guys. You reach out to me with the comments. Tell me how much you appreciate these videos, and I appreciate you watching them. So watch them. That's how I know that it's worth my time to do it. I will do them anyways, but I will get them out more regularly if I see the viewership up there and give me encouragement. So thanks for watching. Thanks for pushing us almost to 12,000 subscribers. I really appreciate it. We're getting super close on this, guys. A couple months, this thing's going to be out running, taxiing, and almost ready to fly. So stay tuned. We're getting into the final stuff. I'm probably going to get to the point where I could go fly it, and I'm going to hold off and do a bunch of little detail stuff that's going to make this thing really unique and something I can really be proud of. And so I want to bring you along on that as well, but I'm going to miss some of the deadlines I set for myself because those events that we were going to go to were canceled because of 2020 sucks and the COVID thing and everything. So High Sierra, not going to happen. So that was really my deadline. I could get it flying by then, but I want to do a complete job so when I introduce this plane to the world, it is all the detail work's done, all the cosmetic stuff's done, everything's been tested, and I can be real proud of it. So again, thanks for following along. Watch all those videos and let me know what you think about them and where I can improve.